In a corporate world where all employees have great leaders with no egos that create fun cultures where people can do their best work, the employees and companies thrive while doing great things for the customers, themselves, and each other.
Well, we know that rarely happens. I'm Jeff Palacio. I have been a leader for over 40 years for every t-shirt size company, from small 16 employees to extra large over 1 million. Please join me while I interview outstanding leaders that will share stories of great leadership and not so great. It will help you become a better leader while poking fun about all the crazy shit that happens in corporate America. Welcome to a special edition of the Corporate Couch. These episodes will be more of a love seat that focuses on one topic and will run 15 to 30 minutes. For each special edition episode, you will hear from one or more outstanding leaders sharing their expertise on the most important challenges in corporate America today. Welcome to another special edition of the Corporate Couch. These are very short 15, 25-minute episodes which focus with one great guest and one topic. And today I'd like to welcome back to the Corporate Couch Leslie Anderson. Leslie, welcome.
Thank you. It is so good to be here.
Yes, it's great to see you as always. Just a little backstory. Leslie was episode 2 of my podcast. I launched it in January of 2023. I just launched episode 135. We're recording here on March 20th, 2025. And she's the one that kicked my ass to get the podcast out in the world, because I had the idea for about 6 years before I launched it. So here we are, and thanks to Leslie. We're going to talk about creating a coaching culture within a company, but tell me about your journey since we had that conversation, the podcast conversation back in January 2023, kind of, because I know you had a very successful executive coaching practice. You know, you're a thinker. I know you talk about wisdom in coaching, and our good friend, you were closer to Dr. Ramon Corrales, who unfortunately passed away a year and a half ago, and he was just full of wisdom. And I know you guys have partnered on a lot of different assignments. But tell us about your journey and how you got to this, reimagining leadership and creating a coaching culture.
Yeah. And you know what? Thank you for mentioning Ramon. He made his transition a year ago in February, and what an amazing, wise soul. And I feel blessed to have had him as a mentor, and this community has really been blessed to have had him in Kansas City.
I did not know Ramon as well as you did, but I felt every time I walked away from a coffee meeting with him or a lunch, I felt like I felt more enlightened, really, because you were in the presence of something different in my mind.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I felt the same way after, just working with him, with clients, and having him mentor me. It never grew old walking away from his conversation. So I really do appreciate you mentioning him. So the story, yes, a successful, thriving executive coaching business, and it still is. And that place, it's been about 2 years ago. Yeah. And I was in a place where I could, there were some changes happening within me, within my business. Despite it being thriving and good, I could tell there was space being made for something more. And I was just kind of waiting for the beacon, waiting for the clarity of what was trying to really emerge. And it took time. And so that's really what, where I was then. And the kind of lightning bolt moment was actually revisiting something that I had designed almost a decade prior. And it was around how a leadership coach has a toolkit. And that toolkit is really a rich and valuable toolkit that actually every leader needs those tools. And they need tools to how to ask great questions. They need tools to know how to be great listeners. They need tools on how to check for understanding in conversations, tools to develop self-awareness. And that's really at the heart of what it means to be an executive coach. And I just started realizing really people need all of this. People and organizations need these tools. And so I had written out, like arced out a plan, whole plan on what that would look like 10 years ago. And it basically got put on ice because I was focusing on my own practice. And then I kind of go into this place of deep inquiry within myself. And then on the other side of that emerged, oh, it's time to take that whole idea off ice and really actuate it. And so that's what the past 12 months have really been. It's been actuating the original idea of putting coaching skills within the hands of people within an organization.
But I always thought it was weird, like when people had, like executives actually had coaches. And I think part of that for me was just I was always trying to improve, and whether that was books or seminars or whatever, talking to great leaders like yourself, that inspired me. But it makes total sense, right? If Tiger Woods and the best golfers in the world have coaches, and LeBron James has a coach, and or multiple coaches, so it makes total sense. So was there some moment or just that really drove the point home in terms of your inspiration? Was it a person? Was it a book? Or it was just kind of your kind of lifelong leadership journey?
No, that's a great question. I think it was really a lifelong leadership journey. And part of that was encountering leaders that didn't quite have an approach that called me to my highest and best self. And I think this just kind of evolved. It kept evolving into these are tools that all people need, not just and I use this word very, very lightly that, what it takes to be an executive coach doesn't need to be kept in some black box. It needs to be democratized. All people need to have access to the tools. And I started seeing it as often coaching or even learning and development can be seen as an event. It's an event that happens. We go and we do our training, we have a session with a coach. And so this is really about reimagining what coaching and learning and development is. So it's about perhaps thinking about it from an open system kind of way where everyone has access to the tool, everyone's using the tool. And so coaching happens in the moment between two colleagues, between two peers, between a boss and a direct report. And so it starts democratizing the tool, and it starts creating a culture of where learning is happening all the time. All moments turn into learning moments through the lens of coaching.
I've gone through numerous throughout my career, just leadership development, training and classes. And you're right. I mean, the key is you're psyched, the 2 days you're there, the half day, the week, whatever the duration, or, could even be a, couple hour online. But the key is to take the learnings and start applying them. And you're right. As time goes on, you kind of forget, and you embrace some things and keep them. But yeah, I can see why it would make sense making this a continuous daily process and allowing all members of the team to understand the process and participate in it.
Exactly. And so, I kind of see it as this is reframing the application of coaching and applying it. So learning is a process. And so when you have a coaching approach, it really starts facilitating that learning process. And it makes learning social. It makes learning live. So there is a very fast feedback loop. And so it becomes about learning in the moment versus going to an event or, to your point, you spend, a couple of days or a few hours and then, so to speak, you close the book and then you go back to real life
Right.
where this is applying a coaching process to real life moments.
I like what you said earlier too. When I lead teams, I would always encourage both going on vacation and going to things that help you learn your craft or whatever you want. And I said for both of them, there's never a good time for going on vacation or going to a learning and development course, but you need to do both. And so, but you're right, it should be more than an event.
Exactly. The vision has been creating coaching centric cultures where learning is happening all the time. That, two people are having a coaching conversation, they're able to coach one another. And that starts creating flow between two people. And it starts creating options and solutions that might not have been there otherwise. And it's as simple as just learning the tools of coaching.
So, Lizzie, you talked about some things that are different in your methodology. The hey, learnings, shouldn't be an event where you go and then you're excited and you then let it go. You also made it clear that it's everybody participates in the coaching to make it not just a like, oh, you're a certain level and you get the coaching and I don't. But what other things in your kind of when you're re-imaging or reimagining, I should say, leadership, what other things make it different?
I think it's more of a little bit of a mindset that, so as I said, learning is a process and having a coaching approach to your leadership style is a way to facilitate learning and development. And so it's really about building capacity in all people. All people deserve that level of focus and intention, not, having an executive coach and doing some really deep work with an executive, that doesn't go away. Those things are still very important. And the cornerstone of coaching is to know that the person on the other side of you really does have the capacity to to critically think, to problem solve. And so coaching is a tool, a mechanism for kind of opening that up. And and so too, I've had some leaders say, well, coaching takes extra time. I have to pause and have a coaching conversation with with a direct report or with a colleague. And I want to debunk that. It doesn't take any extra time. Now, it takes a mindset shift, definitely. That, when somebody comes into my office or I'm hopping on a call with someone, it's literally toggling my thinking to this is a great coaching opportunity. I'm going to use that tool I just learned. So it's about priming priming the learning within oneself that I'm going to apply a coaching approach to how I lead versus I need to have a coaching conversation with someone, so I have to go have this separate event. It's like, no, you can have the tool and you can apply it in the moment.
So, what are the tenets of the process of your process?
What I have been able to recognize over all my years of coaching is that what it takes to be a really great coach and what it takes to be a really great leader are actually kind of the same thing. So there's a lot of crossover in those. So, what I've been able to do, and I'm going to hit on those tenets, is I've been able to develop a simple 5-step process that is it's repeatable and it's scalable. Anybody can learn it. And all of the tenets of being a great leader and a great coach are imbued in these steps. And so one of the first things, the tenets, is basically being committed to self-development. So a great coach can really only guide and help others to the extent that they've done their own internal self-discovery. And it's the same thing that's true for leadership.
100%. Yeah.
100%. And so what that involves is I, as a coach and a leader, I want to know my blind spots. I want to know what's potentially getting in the way, the collateral damage it could do. Because if I'm entering into a conversation with someone, I don't want to transfer or project what's going on inside of me onto someone else, because then it makes my issue their issue. So it's really about continuous self-development, self-awareness. It's also about fostering an environment where others feel seen, heard, and valued. So that's foundational humans.
Right.
We want to know I have value, I have intrinsic value. And so, this by developing that aspect through coaching skills, it's a safe place to learn and grow and make mistakes. The other thing is a strong sense of accountability. So, until someone makes a commitment to do something, problems don't get solved, work doesn't get done. And so, commitments are really around embedding accountability. We need to be accountable to our decisions. We need to be able to be willing to make decisions. And so that's really a part of strong leadership and being a really good coach. And then lastly, it's prioritizing the development and learning of others. So it's just plain old being helpful,
Right.
helping people solve problems, helping people win, helping people to see things differently than how they are currently seeing them. It's just basically coming from a place of wanting to be of service to other people.
And for me, I always had the mentality of the person on my team is responsible for 51% of their development, and I'm responsible for 49%. Like, because you can't, like I can't take responsibility if you don't want to improve. That's not, you can only do so much, right? And
Right.
if they're not improving and it's so bad, that person's not going to be on the team anymore, right? So,
And just to kind of push into that a little bit, yeah, that's a real problem. A leader encountering someone who has apathy or they're disengaged, those are real, real problems. And even handling that problem is a coaching-based conversation where people can explore their values and why they aren't engaged. And, often what I see when people aren't engaged, there's value misalignment happening with, either their personal values to the organization's values, or even their leaders' values. And so even those moments can be productive, well communicated coaching conversations.
Leslie, I know no one predicts the future very well, right? Even these futurists. But if you had a kind of a crystal ball and, I think leadership really changed during, 2020 and beyond with COVID and, everybody had to work from home and now it's the whole hybrid thing, or is it
Mhm.
RTO, return, or RTW, return to work, at 100%. And, but if you can kind of visualize, where do you think leadership's going based on everything that's happened in the last, 5-ish years? What would you say?
Oh, that is a big question. It's a big crystal ball question. I kind of see it in a few different areas. Developing leaders at all levels needs to be or is quickly becoming a priority. So it's just not for the few, the select that are having access to coaching or a special kind of development. It's everyone needs to be developing at all levels of the organization, needs to be learning. Um, Being purpose and value driven. That's really, really important. Our values show, the values that I have, you have, we don't park them when we show up on the Zoom call or drive into the office. So our values are really driving our behaviors, what we say, what we don't say, what we take a stand about, what we're willing to do, not willing to do. And so I really do believe that congruence with that between organizations and the people within the organization. So what the organization espouses as their values, that there's real alignment happening there. I think the other thing is, it's called emotional intelligence. And I would call it's having just plain old self-awareness. What was my intention in a situation? I behaved a certain way, but what was the real impact? And being able to really absorb, I'm having an impact. And maybe it's positive, negative, maybe it's neutral. And being able to have some critical thinking skills, self-discovery skills to understand that better and to be highly adaptive. And I think that's what I really like about this approach is coaching can happen on a dime, just right in the moment, a problem. And solutioning can happen with Socratic questions, just asking how and what and probing and having that sense of safety. It can help decisions get made faster for a more adaptive environment and solutions that one person couldn't have come up with on their own. But that's really where I see the trends happening.
Leslie, thank you so much for coming on this special edition. If people want to learn more about your creating a coaching culture and to find out more, how can they contact you?
You can email me, leslie@essentialwisdom.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can call me. You can go to the website. I would love to just talk more in depth about how to help people do this. All of those paths.
I'll include the website link in the episode description, but what is the website?
essentialwisdom.com.
There you go. All right. Well, Leslie, so great to see you. Thanks again.
Jeff, thank you so much. I really do appreciate the time.
Thank you for listening to this special edition of The Corporate Couch. If you enjoyed the episode, I would love for you to take 2 minutes out of your day to rate us 5 stars and write a review. Please join me weekly where I interview great leaders that share their career journey and their leadership wisdom.